All right. Hey. So the analogy, what I was thinking was how one should act when dealing with their life. How to go ahead and do things or work towards a goal. So basically, there's uh, there's the work that needs to be involved to get whatever you want, right? And in life, it's the same way. So the analogy is basically think of your life as your child. You know, um, there are factors and influencers in the world that would affect your child, but you as a parent have to do your best to raise your child so that they can have the life that they dreamed of, the life that they feel like they deserve, and to be the best that they can be, to be a whole person in the sense of mentally maximizing their capability and living in an environment that is really good for them, helping them to just be the best, right? So, if your life is your child, understand the way that parenthood works. Now, me not being a parent, obviously, I don't know the ins and the outs of this, and being a parent is being a parent is like losing your virginity. Once you're not a virgin anymore, like that's the rest of your life. Um, is the all right. So basically, the reason why I use that is because it's the same way. When you have a child, the child is born, and you spend so much energy and time focusing on your child, right? Focusing on cleaning up after them, and making sure they have everything they need, also making sure they have what they want, so they can be happy and grow up to be healthy. Then you spend a lot more time training them as they grow up, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, developing good daily habits, thinking positively and being smart about what they're doing, and developing the right habits and skills, right? Continue raising your child so that way they can have a positive outlook on their life and also be realistic with their own expectations in terms of what they got to do in order to get what they want or to be the person that they want to be. In order to have good grades, you have to study. In order to make friends, you have to be sociable, and you have to be nice, you have to share, you have to be able to listen to to your teachers, stuff like that. And throughout the whole process, you're just training your kid. You're just training your kid, giving comfort. Also the stern foot when needed. But it's all about molding your child so that not so they can be what you want them to be, but mold your child so that they can be what they want to be. Um, you find the inspiration inside of them. You find their passion. You find their talents, and you just blow those talents up until eventually, they get into high school. They start doing more things for themselves, and then they got to college. Then they start doing a whole lot, and then you have a whole empty nest, and then they go off and they do their own thing, and then you just become a secondary player. So you're still around, but you're not doing that much for them. The analogy of childbearing and raising a kid is the analogy of life, and because your life is you. Your life is you, and since in the beginning everything isn't set up yet, in the beginning, you still have to mold your ideas and your habits and all this good stuff. You have to work really, 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 really hard in terms of putting a lot of energy into what you're doing and a lot of time. So, putting a lot of time into energy into thinking about what you want to do, time and energy about execution and stuff like that, making sure you're around the right people, taking the right actions. And then eventually everything will build on top of that. And then you can add other things into the equation for yourself in terms of your own life and your own skills. So that way you can really start to mold it the way you want it to be, because we're all offered free will for a reason, right? And essentially, eventually, you'll get to the point where everything is set up and all you have to do is maintain things. And I feel like that's also similar to like childbearing in the sense, I mean, having a kid, and because it's just like one day you'll just look at everything. One day you'll look at your son, your daughter, one day you'll look in your life and you'll just be so happy and proud. And you're just like, this is a breathtaking moment because, I remember when he was this small, or, this is a breathtaking moment because I remember when I didn't have half these things. But this is all because you were there to nurture something that potentially was going to be bigger than you, because your life is bigger than you, regardless if you know it or not, because you're born in a world filled with people. Everything you do has a ripple effect that affects someone else, you know? So, yeah, your life is bigger than yourself. You live in a society, we live in a society, we live in an ecosystem. Even if you live in a mountain somewhere, you can be polluting or you can be helping the ecosystem. Everyone lives in an ecosystem. So, knowing that we are here for us in the terms, the sense that we're here so we can live, but what we leave behind is so other people can live. It's a lot like that. So we really have to put in the energy when we're young. And that's why I think it makes perfect sense, because it's like we're young, we're robust, like we have all this energy, we can be flexible, we can be strong, this is the perfect time to quote unquote bust our balls, because we won't have this type of energy um, when we're older. Why coast now when we have the energy to do things and then wait till later when we're tired to work really, really hard? We're strong and young for a reason right now. So if we really put the time into molding things the way we want to, then in the future we can sit back and play that secondary role, in our child's life. Play a secondary role in our child's life, just to keep things afloat and keep things, focused and moving towards a higher and a greater direction. So, a lot of parenting is sacrifice, not putting your wants in front of the wants of your kids, and helping them to grow up and become the best versions of themselves and to live happy, meaningful lives. So what that means is that for the hustle of it, yeah, the sacrifice. What are you willing to change about your lifestyle, or what are you willing to give up about your lifestyle so that you can actually cater to your child, and not be a bad parent in your own life for you, for what you're creating out of your life. Because a lot of people question, what happened? Well, you didn't do your job to yourself, and you thought that someone else was going to help you, but most people can't rely on the outside to raise their kids. They have to rely on them for them. Some people don't have great grandmas and uncles and family relatives that are gonna make sure everything goes okay. But even if they did, things would be a lot better if they took care of their kids themselves. But that's my analogy for your life. Your life is your child. You help them to become the best, or you help them to become the worst. Regardless, you play a role in it, whether you want to accept it or not. You play a major role in it. Just like either you're moving toward your goals, or you're not. There's no pause and there's no middle ground. Why? Because everything is always moving. Time is always moving. If we were able to pause time, then maybe we could have a middle ground and just say, I'm going to pause for a moment. But there is no true pause. Because even as I sit here in this stationary spot in my room, I am not stationary in the universe. And I'm talking about from a very technical point. The earth is consistently and constantly rotating, not only on its axis in orbit, but around the sun. By that physical law by itself, I'm technically not in the same spot I was 3 seconds ago. So if everything's in constant motion, either you're constantly working towards your goals, your dreams, constantly working towards becoming a good parent, constantly working towards creating the life that you want, or you're not, you know. But understand that life is pulsating, and you can consistently pulse up and down, but progressively move forward, because sometimes the drawbacks aren't true drawbacks. You know, they're just lessons to be learned, and there's something that's going to propel you into the future. Um, but that's just my little analogy for, so the way that uh, another outlook at life and outlook at what, what people should do and how they should act in terms of actually creating their lives for themselves and also creating their legacy for others. But that's all I really have for today. Yeah.